All right, good evening or good day whenever you're watching this. If you're here on the playback, thanks for watching. It is Thursday. I think it's December 1st, 7:30. And earlier today, I just got done telling somebody in the comments section that I was going to do a better job of announcing when I'm going live so people could just get a little bit of a head start. And what did I do? I decided about 20 minutes ago that I was just going to go live for a little bit. I have to get up at 3 a.m. to go to work, so I don't usually go live this late right before work. How you doing, Tim? So I'm just getting on live here for a little bit. I have this titled as like an open bee chat or whatever, just to give anyone the chance if they want to come in and talk about something. Bees, it's got to be about bees. Give people a chance to come on and give me a piece of their mind, whether it's good or bad. I don't care. Maybe you're nervous about going live. You want to try it out. That's cool too. And if no one comes in after a little bit, then I'll just cut it short. It's no big deal. I just came on to have something to do, see if any of my people are on. So take a minute and think about it. Anybody want to come in and talk about some bees? I'm here. All right, so cool. I mean, if you guys just have regular bee questions, that's cool too until someone wants to join in. I don't have all the answers for these questions, but let me see what Tim's saying. He's asking, what's the issues with feeding syrup in a top feeder in late fall when the temperatures are 30 to 50 degrees? Well, 30 to 50, yeah, it's pretty low. There's a million issues with that. One is that if the syrup up there gets cold, the bees just aren't going to take it. Or if it is cold and they do take it, they're just going to fill their guts up and get really cold and probably just croak. Just like when I find them out here during the day when it's cold, drinking out of the water bowls, they fill up with cold water and then just fall right in because they just get so cold they can't function anymore. Also, it's just, if it's late fall, it's just kind of late to be feeding liquids. Now with the top feeder, depending on what kind you're using, if you're using the kind where, it's like shaped like a soup, or you don't have to worry too much about it leaking. But if you were top feeding, say from a jar over a hole, that's going to cause some problems with the syrup getting warm and then cold, and warm and cold is just going to leak all into your hive. So there's a bunch of issues, a whole bunch. I stopped feeding anymore, so I don't feed anything at all, which is a perfect segue into Grayson's question here. What am I feeding? Well, he's saying, what are you feeding Bruce? Well, Bruce is getting fed a lot. Bruce be eating all the time. Bruce likes to eat a lot of pizza. But to answer your question, no, I'm not feeding anything. I used to feed syrup right up until about November. I've never fed pollen. I've never used a pollen patty. I've never used pollen sub at all. But I used to feed syrup. But yeah, so I don't feed anymore. I've just come up. It's so, to not feed anymore is so, what's the word? It's so like freeing. My bees are nice and heavy right before fall. A few of them will die. They'll be dead outs, but they'll be dead outs with a ton of honey on them. So the rest of my bees just clean those hives out. They get nice and fat. So they're kind of feeding each other. Liberating. That's right. Liberating is the word I was looking for. It is extremely liberating. Just like not treating is liberating. I've never treated, so I don't know. I can just go by how excruciating it looks for other beekeepers to do it. and still lose their bees, but I've never treated, so I can't say that I know how liberating it is. I just know from watching other people do it that I'm so glad I've never done it and never will do it. Well, if somebody want to jump on, god damn, everybody jump on everyone else's live stream. Tim mentions me in my next video. All right, cool. Hopefully you say Swarmstead Bees and Gardening channel. That would be awesome. I know the one time you were like, my buddy Bruce. I mean, everybody's like, Bruce, who the hell's that? What's up, Jason? How you doing? Yeah, I got my little open live here. If somebody wants to talk about bees. And I want to talk about the good and the bad. I know there's got to be some people that want to come in here and really say something. So come on in and really say it. What's up, Jake? How you doing? Bob Benny will feed light syrup. Yeah. How do I say this nicely? I won't say anything. Feeding don't kill a claim. Feeding. So I guess Frank is asking, feeding doesn't kill a claim to be treatment-free? No, it doesn't. Which is another good question. Something I forgot to address when I had Michael Cox on a few days ago. A treatment. Now, people can try to change the definitions of things, try to like tweak it and try to make everybody who thinks they're treatment-free, try to make them not treatment-free by saying, oh, you put them in a hive, that's treatment. Boom, you're not treatment-free. But feeding is one of those ones where you can feed your bees whatever you want to. It's when you try to affect mites, specifically mites. No one cares about really beetles or bears or rabbits or mice or anything. I see you down there. Yeah, feeding is not a treatment. Now, let's say you were trying to put oxalic acid in your feed or something. You're trying to fight against mites. Then you're treating. It's not a big deal. That's what you want to do. It doesn't bother me. But yeah, feeding itself is not a treatment. But if you choose not to feed, like I choose not to feed, that doesn't make me better than anybody. It's just, I just found that I don't really need to do it. I just learned how to manage my bees better so that I don't need to feed. And I find that my bees do better without feeding. And as Tim said, it's so liberating not to haul tons of sugar, feeding all the time. I just love it. So yeah, so to answer your question, you can feed and still be a treatment-free beekeeper, or you cannot feed. Whatever you want to do, don't matter. It's just when you try to fight mites with some type of manipulation or some type of chemical or treatment or miticide. It's a treatment. I don't have any problem with anyone doing it. Do it. That's fine. That's your business. They just wouldn't be a treatment-free beekeeper. Tim said, Bruce. I've never really loved the term treatment-free. It just sounds goofy, but it does work. It works for what I do. I don't treat my bees. I've never treated, so I'm a treatment-free beekeeper if you want to. We got this coward clown in here again. Never showing his face, never telling who he is. I won't block him though because I like the engagement, but the bee man's a clown. Thanks for coming in. Hey Tina Ladybug, how you doing? All right, comments are coming up a little fast. Let's see. Don't want to miss anybody. But yeah, I'm a treatment-free beekeeper. Let's see. Bruce isn't better than others because he doesn't treat. He's better because he is a swarm. I mean, no lies detected. Tim doesn't lie. Let's see. Grace and I'm located in Pennsylvania, southeast Pennsylvania, about an hour and a half north of Philadelphia. How about feeding candy with peppermint? That would kill my treatment claims. Again. Okay, so that's actually a good question because let's say, and this happens sometimes in the treatment-free beekeeping Facebook group. Someone might say, I like to put crystals on the entrance of my hive, which always cracks me up. Some type of weird foo-foo pseudoscience. They'll say I put this or that near my hive and I don't have mite issues. Does that really work? No, obviously it doesn't work. It's just pseudoscience. It's not real. They're trying to treat, but it's not really doing anything. So you do get in this really fuzzy kind of area, this kind of gray area. And that's what I would call this peppermint nonsense that I see everywhere. So peppermint is kind of a natural food. There's peppermint plants. I have thousands of peppermint plants in my yard. They get all the peppermint oils and all the essential oils from peppermint and the pollen and the nectar. So I don't think peppermint really does anything. Plus, it's not my job to disqualify or qualify anyone from being a treatment-free beekeeper. I'm not like the boss of treatment-free beekeeping. I can just like address a claim that's totally false if someone makes that. But so to answer your question, if you're feeding candy, let's say sugar candy, and you feed some peppermint candy, I would consider it actually not really a treatment because I don't think it does anything. It doesn't do anything. It's just basically food. Like if my bees get into the neighbor's trash can and they drink a bunch of Monster Energy drinks or they drink a bunch of beer, it's not like a treatment. Bees are going to get into stuff. They can get into peppermint in nature. It's just they can get into candy. They can get into drinks. It's not technically. I wouldn't call it a treatment. I don't think it does anything. I think it's probably beneficial to their health. Peppermint's a good. It has good health benefits, so it might be a little bit good for them. It's not going to fight mites or anything. Oh, Bobby's Bee, what's up? How you doing? Let's see. Am I missing some comments here? Everybody's saying hi to everybody. There's many types of beekeeping approaches. There are many types. Many types. You can do thousands of different things, but there's a big giant but. There's a bifurcation in between those two. No matter all the thousands of ways you want to keep bees, they do split into two categories. One side treats, the other side doesn't. So there's no middle ground to that. You either treat or you don't. I don't. Not saying I'm better than anybody. I think the treatment-free is better for the bees. It's better for enjoying beekeeping, but you can be a total jack-off like the bee man in here, and whether you treat bees or not, you're still garbage, so it doesn't really matter. So yeah, there's plenty of ways to do things. Let me drop the link again, just in case anybody lost it. Let's see. Man, I got the little bit of shakes in my hands. Might need to drink some sugar, something sugary or something. Yeah. Tim is the Swarm Prince. He has the shirt and everything. I haven't seen him wearing the shirt in a while, but he's definitely a Swarm Prince. What's up, Jason? How you doing? You see me win that hive tool last night? Let's see. I used to not treat. I mean, you're like 12 years old, right? So I don't know, 12, 13. I don't know if that may have been like your first season. It doesn't really count. It may count, but I wouldn't go around saying I used to be a treatment-free beekeeper. If you used to be a treatment-free beekeeper, that means you kind of did it several years, did it correctly several years, and then for some odd reason decided now I want to treat anybody, not you specifically or personally, but I wouldn't claim to have done to have been something for a very short time, but that's up to you. Whatever. All right, so we're gonna play this game with this guy. I don't care. It makes it a little lively. No, you just criticize anyone who doesn't kiss your. I don't know. Let the people in the chat be the judge of that. You can kiss my ass and I won't criticize you, but beer flavored honey, yeah, they do seem to like beer. I mean, I've seen them clean out beer cans, soda cans, everything. It might ferment a little bit. There are many ways to keep bees, bruises away. No, I mean, it depends on your goals. You know, no one, it just depends on your goals. I never attack people for being a treating beekeeper. That's what their goals are. You know, that's how they learn to do things. They have goals. They want to keep every single colony alive. They're not really concerned with affecting their genotype or their genetic pool in a positive way. They don't really care about that. They just want to make honey, and they want to do all the things that the commercial beekeepers do. They want to like say all the cool stuff, have all the cool tools. That's cool with me. I don't care. I can do. I just. It's to each their own, really. Teach their own. Just have a good attitude about it. Like for me, when I do those reaction videos, it's only usually to someone criticizing. They like that movie Rambo. Like what Sylvester Stallone says. He says, they struck first blood, not me, or something like that. I don't just go attacking people. Now, if it's just a really bad video, like Peaceful Mind or one of them other clown videos I responded to, I wouldn't have cared if they were treating fear or not. It was just, they're just really bad videos, really bad advice, just bad all around. And I'm not part of the B-tube where everybody's like kind of got their arms hooked. They're all kind of like just a nut hugging circle jerk of just coattail riding. I'm not interested in it. I just want real people and real beekeepers over here. Or people just starting, or gardeners. I garden too. I do goofy stuff. So nobody wants to come in. Nobody wants to sit in the hot seat. Holy shit. Who's in here? The bee man doesn't want to come in? I could even let his clown ass in without his face showing. How about that? Just let your voice show. Just click on the link. I think I'm just cold. That's why I'm like shivering. But I'll give it a couple minutes. If no one comes in or has any more questions, I'll just get out of here. I'll get to bed early. Got 8 people. Yeah, so hopefully, Jason, you got those sun chokes. I've sent Jason some sun chokes and some, what do you call them? Egyptian onions. The sun chokes won't do anything at all until spring. They're not going to even budge. But as long as you keep them in some soil, that has a little bit of moisture in it, they can freeze brick solid. They're not going to die. All you got to do is just bury them as soon as you can in the spring, and they will explode. And they're really good. Do bees eat plastic if trying to make a hole? I find that bees can pretty much chew through almost anything if given enough time. Maybe not metal, of course, but they've chewed through some serious stuff that I've had bees in. They've chewed through just really slick surfaces that you think they're not going to chew through. But I guess it would depend on what kind of plastic. If it's really, really thin, let's say you're using a really thin plastic sheet for something, like maybe an inner cover, yeah, they'll probably chew through that. Or if you put a bag of something in your hive, like maybe sugar, they probably could chew through it in time. I think plastic is kind of tough for them to chew, but they do chew. I think it just depends. I think if you have like a plastic hive, I don't think they're going to be able to chew that. Oh, man. I'm cold. So, all right. So I gave everybody a chance. I gave my haters a chance to just click on the link. I'm trying to give it some time. We'll talk to Bobby's B. What's Bobby's B talking about? Do you close your entrances in the winter months? I leave mine wide open here in Virginia. Probably in Virginia you can do that. And I think here people do that too. They just make sure there's a mouse guard all the way across. But if you're talking about the completely wide open entrance all the way across the front of like a 10 frame hive, I think you could still do that. Do I do that? No. I close it down. I don't close it down tight. I have on my 10 frame boxes, there's a good 3-inch wide opening at the bottom with a mouse guard on. And then there's a good 2 or 3-inch wide opening at the top with mouse guards on. And sometimes there's holes in the box and there's holes in the insulation and they just have holes everywhere, all on the top, all on the sides. I'm telling you, I got to throw all my equipment away and start over. But for my nukes, my 5-frame nukes and 8-frame boxes, some of those I do have the entrance totally out. Maybe just a couple, but they have mouse guards all the way across the front. So yeah, open, yes, but with definitely a mouse guard, and definitely lean them forward here at least. I put a 2x4 underneath the back of all my hives just so that everything runs out the front. I don't want any water on the bottom board, and I don't want my bees to jam up the entrance. So I can yank that mouse guard off, scoop some bees out, put it right back on. 5-gallon water jug for a hive. I think a 5-gallon water jug would definitely work for like a swarm trap, but not if it's clear. Like you'd have to paint it dark brown or something and keep it in the shade, or else it's just going to get really hot. No bees are going to want to go in that. Now, if you're talking about keeping it like a permanent hive, I don't know how you do that. I don't know, but there is a guy whose channel I found recently where he actually makes hives out of styrofoam shipping containers, kind of like the way Tim does swarm traps with the styrofoam shipping containers, but he actually makes the hives out of them. Like they're big, so he just cuts them to the right size and kind of routes them out to where you can put the frames in, and they're free. So there's a lot of things you can do. You can make free equipment if you have a little bit of creativity, which I know you do. I don't. But they're definitely good for swarm traps. I don't know if I would try a 5-gallon water jug. If you're talking about like that square kind of thing, it's going to be too small. Oh, no, I think the 5 gallons you're talking about is kind of shaped like a cube. I'm thinking of a 2-gallon. I don't know. Just try it. Try anything. One thing you want to do, I'm glad I just thought of this. You want to try things first, and then if it works, then you can say, hey, I tried this and it worked. What I see some other people doing on YouTube is kind of inventing something in October and then putting it on sale in November for everyone, and it's never actually like done the thing you're selling it for. It's embarrassing just to even see, but some of you know what I'm talking about. So for the hardware cloth, I don't know what number it is, but it's half inch squares. That's the smallest I'll go, because if you get 3/8 or you put 1/4 inch on there, the bees can go through it, but they can't pull dead bees through it. They just can't. And even with 1/2 inch, which is what I use, mice cannot get through that. And the bees can get their dead through it, but it's not easy. And they still get jammed up, even with 1/2 inch. But you can't go bigger, because if you go bigger, mice are going to get in. So use 1/2 inch, but still pay attention so that it doesn't get jammed up with bees. And then also have a top entrance, but even you got to have a mouse guard on that too, because these mice climb. They climb and jump. Do I wrap my hives or leave them unwrapped? I wrapped for a couple years. I wrapped a couple hives for a couple years because I couldn't afford $50 wraps for like 20 hives. So I had like 4 or 5 of them, and it wasn't good. Like, it caused a lot of problems. It did help me when I wrapped like a really tiny nuke that was really weak, and because I did a removal really late, so that'll help in an emergency situation. But as a regular practice, I don't wrap hives, and I'm north of you. I'm way north of you. We're way colder than you, and we don't wrap hives. And even people way north of me, a lot of them don't wrap their hives. So don't do it. Try to minimize what you're doing. Try not to, get caught up in doing just too much stuff. There's a lot of beekeepers I see on here. Their whole inside of their hive just looks like a damn junkyard. Their whole yard looks like a damn junkyard. They got so much stuff going on, so much trinkets, and just, what do you call them? Just unnecessary stuff. Mine's 10 frame with vented tops. Yeah, that's good. It depends where you are. I've heard some people like in this area that have vented, not just vented, but like screened inner cover. Like the whole inner cover is a screen. There's no wood to it, in the middle. And then they put the lid on top of that, and there's a gap. It's basically letting everything out, all the moisture out, all the heat. And their bees still live. I haven't tried that yet, but it does amaze me sometimes what bees can be put through and still live. You would just think there's no way them bees are going to live, and they live. And every time I find out something like that, I adjust, accordingly, just like I did with wrapping. I found that wrapping made no difference here. I found that just having big hives in the wintertime was a bad thing here. So I stopped having 4 deep hives in the winter. Just found that like screen bottom boards were pointless. There's no reason for them. I don't use those. I just don't do a lot of things. Hickory hives. He leaves his unwrapped right down the road from me. Yeah, wrapping. Yeah, well, yeah, it'll definitely trap moisture in between the wrap and the outside of your hive. I mean, it'll cause your equipment to probably, your paint to peel and kind of come apart. If it's really insulated and you have a nice warm day, the sun's probably not really going to get in there and warm your box up. It's just going to shine on the outside of this thick, stuffed black insulation or whatever kind of insulation you have. And your bees are going to get a really bad, like the opposite of a head start. They're going to get like, all the other bees are going to be flying and they're going to be sitting in there, on a day when they could come out and do a cleansing flight. There's a little bit of time. They come out and get some water, but nope, they're in there thinking it's still cold. So yeah, I just think there's a lot of problems with wraps. Unless you're in like Canada or something. Cool. You guys can literally come on here and ask the questions or just shoot the shit. Where'd my buddy the bee man go? The bee man tucked tail and ran. All right, let's give a couple more minutes. A nice little crowd in here for a little while. Man, what the heck? What else is there? There's not really much. Let's see. Who else is in there? Where's Gallo? Where the heck is everybody? All right. Let's see. Bobby's bee. I've never wrapped, but losses happen. Right. I mean, losses do happen. There's people that will have you think that that losses are just make you a bad beekeeper. You stink. You stink if your bees die, or they'll blame it on some treatment-free beekeeper down the road. But for me, I mean, I never. Once you get that swarm trapping down, and just the free bee removal down, you get that down. You can have as many bees as you want, and just not care. Um, not care, but you're not gonna be upset about some unfit, shitty bees dying. If you're just making a lot of bad mistakes all the time and just ruining it for the bees, that's a different story. But if you're giving them their shot and they look good before winter, they look great, and they don't cut the mustard, then that's how it goes. Catch some more. What size hole is queen excluder? Man, now you're asking me like real tough stuff. I think the holes in the queen excluder, I could be wrong because I've never used the queen excluder. I've tried a couple times. I think it's what is it? See, I'm terrible with measurements too. I think it's 3/8, but it might be like a tiny bit less than that. No, they might be just a 1/4 inch holes. They're more like, they're not really holes. They're like, you gotta just get a queen excluder and look at them. They're plastic. You can order them. They're like $3. They're really cheap. They're just totally cheap. They're definitely not something I would try to make. Yeah, they're like $3. Unless you get like a fancy one. I got like 20 of those things somebody gave me. I was gonna try them with some of those jar comb honey things, and then I never got around to that. Every year I tell myself I'm going to do the cool little upside down mason jars over the holes. Every freaking year I say I'm going to do that, and I never do it. Oh, okay. So you're trying to build a hive out of trash. I like that idea. You know what? I found a channel the other day. If I find it, maybe I can tag you in it or something. The channel is from Uganda, and they make hives out of stuff. They make hives out of stuff like everything. They take like wicker baskets and put a bunch of mud on them. You could take like a wicker trash can or maybe like something like that and just pack a bunch of mud on it and then keep it warm till it dries out. And you can make top bars out of just branches. You can make a hive out of trash. It could definitely be done. But look up like Ugandan beekeeping and you'll probably find the channel I'm talking about. I mean, they really make stuff out of just everything. And they don't treat their bees. And they're dealing with some kind of mean bees. All right, so 4.1 to 4.4 millimeters. Now, what did I say? I said like a 1/4 inch. So how close was I? Because I don't know. I don't know the whatever you call it. I don't know the damn. I'm like, my vocabulary is shot today. Conversion. Okay, bucket trap dude link you had. The bucket trap dude link you had. Oh yeah, I did put a link for the bucket guy. He's from Jamaica. I put that on my community post. That's a channel called Try a Thing TV. That's the Jamaican guys, and they make all those bucket traps. And the dude catches a ton of bees. And he's new at beekeeping. He only just started not that long ago. It might have just been his first year, and I don't know how many swarms he got. Ton of bees. Hold on. I want to have one of those guys on one time because I was taught there's 2 Jamaican channels that I found. There was Try a Thing TV, And then there was some other channel. I forget what it's called. I forget. But yeah, in Jamaica, they don't treat their bees. I was talking to him in the comment section. He said some people do, but most people don't. So I gotta have this dude on here. I said I invited him. I don't know if you saw the comment. Bobby's Bee. I built a hive out of a grandfather clock from the trash cans. Just coded. Yeah, I mean, that would be crazy. A grandfather clock, like up against the wall with the big glass front, and you just make sure that bad boy is sealed shut. Maybe have a screen bottom for that one just for ventilation, like if it's in the house, and just run a tube right through your wall or right out the window. That would be sick. That would be totally sick. Have an observation beehive in a grandfather clock. That shit would be sick. All right. So I said 3/8. All right. I don't know what my testimony was. I thought I kind of went back and forth between 3/8 and 1/4. I'm just wondering how close. I think I would have went with 1/4. So we don't know the answer yet. I'm wondering how close 1/4 inch is to 4.1 millimeters. Straw and cow pucks to make hives. Yeah, they were using straight up cow dung, sticking their hands right in it, just scooping it up, slapping it right on the thing, and yeah. And then they'd make a little fire and put the whole thing over the fire. Not a big blazing fire, just like a little tiny smoldering fire, and it would heat up the whole thing and it would dry up the cow dung. And then they just had a lid for it. And then they hung it up long ways. And they had the entrance on the other side. So all they had to do was take the lid off the back, cut the honeycombs out, and put the lid back on. That's it. That's how they got all their honey. It was always comb honey. And people might think, well, man, you can't. They took every drop of honey every time. Because there ain't no winter in that part of the world. There's no winter. They just make honey all year, every year. There's never cold. So you don't have to worry about winter over there. Bible days, they use dead animal carcass. I heard somebody talking about that. I don't know. Is there evidence? I don't know. Sounds crazy. I don't know if I would want like dead animal honey. Like, how is that possible? Just use like your normal beekeeping sense. You think bees are going to live inside of a dead animal? A rotten dead animal? Maybe you could use the bones, of course. You're not going to keep bees inside of a bloated, dead rhinoceros. Add flavor. Something like 175. Man, what the heck's that about? 175 what? All right, Bobby's Bee, thanks for coming in. See you on the next one. Let me see if I can figure out what Jason's talking about. That's why you should just come in here and talk. All you have to do is click on the link. There's nothing to be scared of. I'm not going to bite your head off. If you were certain people, I would bite your head off. Where are those people at? Yeah, I think if you're making a beehive out of trash, it's totally possible. You could probably pull, like I see when I'm driving down the road on trash day, go to one of those fancy neighborhoods where people are throwing away really nice stuff, and you're like, damn, why are they throwing that away? Take like some dressers, and you could get like an old freezer that doesn't work anymore. Just build frames for it. Now you got one of them white freezers. Drill a hole in it. Bees live in it. Yeah, you put bees in anything. All right, we're still on. Google said 3/16 is 0.18 inches, which is 4.1. Okay, so 3/16 is just a tiny bit less than than a quarter. So basically, I was right. Okay, I was tiny bit off. I was guessing. Man. So hive life is like, man, how close is that? It's like 30, 36 days away. Hive life is going to be sick. I can't wait. Maybe what am I gonna buy? I don't know. I just can't wait to go there. It's gonna be fun. I think I'm gonna be the only one not shoving a camera in everybody's face. Yeah, it's gonna be great. Maybe I will shove a camera in people's face. So nobody wants to come up. All right, so if anybody's sitting in the back, this is the last chance you guys are getting. This is it. Swarm King is giving you one last chance. The king of all bees, the king of all swarms. Because, shit, it's been 41 minutes. It's almost my bedtime. Maybe I'll look around on YouTube, see who else is on. Handout swarms at Hive Life. Oh, let's see. Crap. Oh. Man, my phone's going nuts. Making a beef bone, but I don't care about that. Yeah, I don't know. I might make up some hats or something. I really don't know. That's kind of like, to me, it's kind of, no, what's the word? Maybe if someone asked for one, or if it's like a good buddy, I might say, okay, yeah, here, try one of these Swarmstead bee shirts. But I'm not going to just be cramming them in people's hands. Here, wear my shirt in your next video. All right. Cool. Nobody wants to come in. All right. I'm going to get out of here. It's been fun while it lasted. Everybody had some good questions. Do I have some? No, I don't. I at least want one just for me to wear. So maybe I'll have to figure something out. I don't have a lot of time. I also want to get my little honey entrance, my little honey jar entrance ready. Most honey contests, I think you need 2 jars. I think that's the minimum, unless I'm mistaken. So if I need to make 2 jars, which is perfectly fine, I just want to get them ready, or at least have the jars ready. I wouldn't fill them until like the day before, or maybe that's not how you do it. Maybe you have to do it a couple days before and like let them settle. I really don't know what to do. Just throw it in there for the hell of it. I'm sure I'm not gonna win, or maybe I will win. Uh-oh, Jason's coming up. He said he's coming up in a minute. He wants to get my opinion on something. And I got opinions, just like everybody does. Just like everybody. I gotta have me a little Swarmstead shirt. Even that's kind of corny, though, too. Like, look at me. I don't want people to know who I am. Maybe I'll grow a big beard and I just won't go live for the next month. I'll grow like one of them curly mustaches. No one. Oh, 3 jars? I gotta have 3 jars? So now I gotta find 3 nice labels. And then what? You turn them in, right? They're probably got to be 1 pound jars. You turn them in. You probably don't get them back. What are people going to do with 5,000 jars of honey? Maybe I should have my own honey contest. Have everybody turn in 3 jars to me, and I pick the winner and just load up with them, then sell them. Come on, Jason, get up here. Oh yeah, so here, just like Frank's saying, you can do an old dryer hive. Yeah, and then just spin it. Kick the bees out and just start spinning that bitch. What else is new? All right, I'm going to give another minute. Waiting for Jason. Out of this dead air, that's not good. Anybody get on TikTok yet? You got to get on TikTok, see your boy. I'm on Instagram now for the first time, for at least a few weeks. I've been on there, maybe a month or 2. Instagram stinks. It's so hard to edit. All right, we got Jason coming in. Let's see what he got going on. How you doing? Oh, you hold on. You got to turn off your YouTube.
Is my mic working all right?
Yeah, but you're echoing. So did you close your YouTube window? You hear that? What's that noise? All right.
Did that work?
There we go. Oh, now I can hear it again. You hear that?
Apparently, I can't hear you.
All right, so you must have 2 windows open. You have to close YouTube. Just close it.
And now.
Yeah, I can still hear it. I can hear 2 things. You hear that? All right, let's see if I can hear it. All right, so that
here's
thing.
what I'm talking about. 1/2-inch hole, or the netting. I got to put a hole through that, and I'm thinking netting here, and the hole there. With another one of these up here with a queen excluder. Does that make sense? Now I got to drill out every one of these and put the netting on it.
You mean like screen?
Yeah, the screen.
And that echoing. Are you sure you don't have 2 windows open on your laptop or phone or whatever? There's definitely 2 things. Like, just close everything except for StreamYard. Now? All right.
Now?
Okay, let me hear. All right. So, oh, shit, he left. All right, come back in. I'm going to add Frank, too. And when Jason comes back in, all you got to do, you just really got to close everything. Now, is that Galloway? Is that me? That better not be me doing that. If that's me, I'm going to friggin' no, it ain't me. I only have 1 window open. Yeah, I don't know.
Wow. Turban head.
open now.
Right, you only have the StreamYard window open. That's it. Wow, I can't figure it out. I've been going live with people. Let me unplug.
But this is my first time ever coming on like this, so
yeah. Usually you use YouTube in the background and leave that on by mistake.
Oh man, this is weird. I don't know if it can't be me because maybe I'll just turn my volume down. Maybe that'll help it. It's weird. I've had people on here like several times. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's got an echo.
I could hear you fine.
All right. So yeah, that thing that you have there, bees would definitely live in it. But it just lets a lot of light in.
Through it too.
I
was gonna put skewers, barbecue skewers through it.
It wouldn't even be necessary. They can build combs right on that thing everywhere. You just have to just darken it so no light gets into it.
The bubble wrap. I was gonna put that around it whenever I hang it up in the tree and then forget about it.
Yep, you hang it up. You're gonna need some swarm lure in there. There's some very sketchy swarm lures on the market right now. It just came on the market. You're going to want to avoid those and go with something that's actually been used before and tested. Or I can just send you something.
I'll figure it out. But yeah, I started working on that like yesterday. So
yeah, there's a guy on YouTube that does that. He makes those big glass bubble hives. Did you see that one?
No. The only thing that I've seen is that bucket thing that I seen from you and some guy making them out of logs, and they were hanging it from a tree. Yeah. Literally cutting down logs, hollowed out logs.
Yep. Yeah, the guy, he is kind of like what you have, but instead of plastic, they're glass. So they're just like really heavy duty. Look like those glass jars for making mead or whatever.
Yeah, I've got a couple of those.
And then he gets the bees to make their honey in a separate thing, kind of like what you have going on. So it'll work.
Cool. All right. Well, I appreciate your time. I want to figure out how to get out of here.
Right. There's a guy on Bee Revolution that does them in like an outhouse with the bottles inside.
All right.
And he has the different layers, and he has them entrances from the sides. It's called Bee Revolution, I think.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. Take care, Jason. Is that echo still going on?
No.
I don't hear it now.
Gone.
It's gone. Man, I could not figure out what the heck was going on with that. Yeah, so glass. I definitely have to do the mason jar thing. It just looks cool as hell. And also, what I wanted to do as an experiment. I've already talked about it before, but feed the bees like something really weird, like red Hawaiian punch or blue Hawaiian punch, and have them make comb honey inside the jars. It'll look cool as hell. And then when you cut it off, you just fill it up the rest of the way with like vodka or something and just put it on your shelf. It would look pretty cool. I mean, it would probably be fine to eat, but I think it would look pretty cool. Some blue or some like pink or red or green honeycombs in a jar. Some Galloway Lights green honey.
Yeah, so I got red and green. Red is the Apis, and green is the non-tainted.
Well, you're opening that door for me right now. Don't open that door up because I see you over there. I'm blocked, so you can't tell I'm there because my comments don't show up, so I don't even bother. But I see you over there. But anyway, just know that I'm there in spirit almost every time. I watch everything. So you got green and red. Yeah, I've done green with food coloring, but I really wanted to do Hawaiian punch. I don't know why. I just think that would look cool because they have it in all these cool colors. But I couldn't do it at my yard where I have a lot of hives. I would have to do it somewhere where I only have one colony.
Now, how strong did you have to have the color to make it actually show up in the honey?
Oh, it doesn't have to be strong. Like, when I use food coloring in my syrup, I would have a 5-gallon bucket and I would only put 3 drops of food coloring in it. Like you could barely see it. And then when they condense it down, they're taking 80% of the water, not 80%. They're taking a ton of water out of there. I think I was doing 1-to-1. So once they take a bunch of water out, you can really see it.
Wow. So that shows that they don't take stuff out of the stuff.
It shows that, a lot of the stuff goes through. I mean, food coloring is soluble, so it's going to just pass through everything. If you take sugar syrup and let's say you mix a bunch of sand in it or some dirt gets in there, none of that's going to get in there because it's just they're not going to get it through their little tubes.
Yeah, like if you used like an iron ore, would it have like an irony taste?
If you used iron ore for what?
Yeah, like for rocks, in your sugar water, so they don't drown, say, and it had an irony taste, maybe.
I don't know about that. Iron is definitely reactive with any acid, and sugar syrup is acidy, so you might end up having some iron rusty taste honey. So I wouldn't do that.
Oh man, you got me going. I got to do that this summer now. See if that happens.
You want to have irony tasting honey?
Yeah, I'll put it in the top feeder so that it can't go to anybody else, but kind of see whether it actually does something.
It might kill your bees. I mean,
yeah, I know people are using salt, and that doesn't show up in the honey, does it?
Using salt for what?
Salt and what is the other one? Bleach they use in their honey or the sugar water, kind of keep it from fermenting and also be more attractive to the bees.
Yeah, I've heard people using bleach to keep it from, fermenting, or people putting like some vinegar in there. I've never heard of anyone putting salt in, unless they're talking about like a pinch of salt.
Well, they apparently like the salt because of the minerals, they were saying.
Yeah, they definitely. Well, here's the thing. Here's the funny thing about feeding bees, because I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about what you'll see is you'll see these clowns. Okay, that's the only word I can come up with. They'll mix a bunch of sugar with something, and then say, "Look, my bees are tearing it apart. They love it." You dummy! They're going after it because it has a ton of sugar in it. They don't care about the other shit you're putting in there. So you'll see someone saying, "Oh, they love when I put oregano in my sugar syrup." Well, then put some oregano somewhere else without the sugar and see if they go eat it. They're not going to. So yeah, you could put nothing really is going to make it more attractive. If you add lemongrass oil to it, they're going to find it faster. Or if you put some type of mint or whatever kind of flavor in, they're going to find it faster. But they're going to take it no matter what.
Like if I use what they call it, maple shavings from wood would it have like a maple flavor now, honey?
Like in your feeder, like to keep them from drowning in it?
Yeah, keep them from drowning, but would that give the tannins in with the water? And
I don't know. Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know if that's enough to cause that. Whenever I used to open feed, I would just use straw or a whole bunch of sticks or, some hay or something like that. And
would it taste like hay?
I don't know, because it was for winter feeding. I didn't eat it. You don't want to eat that. I mean, you can eat it, but why? Like, why do that? That's for winter, for fattening them up for winter. Not really. I wouldn't want honey that has like vinegar in it and Apis biologics in it. I don't want none of that shit. First, I don't want it, period, but I don't want it in my supers. Like, it's a damn scam anyway. So
it tastes pretty good.
It tastes good.
Yeah, I have a video. I put it to the taste test. It was like red stuff oozing out of the comb.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I didn't comment on it, but weren't you like licking it off your hive tool or something?
Yeah, somebody says, I hope you don't put that back in a hive. So I made another video. I saved a bee from, actually it wasn't a bee, it was a wasp from dying, but I washed my hive tool before I used it so I wouldn't cross-contaminate it.
I never do that. I use the same hive tool on all my hives across all my yards. Even the inspector will come, he'll start wiping down the hive tool with the alcohol. And I'm like, dude, you don't have to do that. I don't care. If one of my hives is sick, I want it
They're
to
gonna
get
get it.
like
Yeah,
get
they
them
get it
all
anyway.
sick.
Yeah.
But the cool thing for me, like for when I do take honey, kind of like how Jason from Hickory Hives can attest to, is how good the honey is from different flowers. Like he had this sunflower honey from this area where there was a shit ton of sunflowers. Oh my god, that stuff was so good. And I get a lot of minty honey here because I have a ton of mint in my area, and I grow a bunch of mint. But yeah, I don't want to be adding stuff to feed and then harvesting it. And the great thing about not feeding is I never have to worry about that again, unless some beekeeper up the road is feeding. But I don't have anybody keeping bees around me.
Now, does sunflower honey taste like sunflower seeds, or
No, it doesn't taste like sunflower seeds. It just is really, really good. Like it just I don't know how to explain it. It's just really good. You should order some from Jason. But no, it's really good. It's light. It just has a really good taste. And sometimes when you eat honey, it'll taste good at first, and then it'll have like a weird aftertaste. But it's just good all the way. It's good all the way through. He gave me a bottle, and I burned that thing right up like in a week. I put it on my French toast, my banana sandwiches. It's gone.
the funny thing about honey is I never was a honey eater, and once I started doing these hives, it's like this is something I've never really ate before.
Oh yeah. I never was a big honey fan. When I got into bees, I didn't really care about honey.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember. Did I even get any honey my first year? Maybe a couple frames, but yeah. Once I tasted my own, I knew that there was something wrong with the honey I'd been eating 35 years before that. Just all tastes like crap, like clover. Everything, all the honey I've ever tasted or eaten was always labeled clover honey, which I think is the worst honey there is. Unless it's just Apis biologics honey. But clover's really bad. Or yeah, I don't know. Peppermint honey.
I'll have to can you a jar of red Apis biologics honey and send it your way so you can taste it.
Yeah, no. I'm good. I'm good. Oh man. You gonna be trapping swarms next year?
You guys have me so tempted. I'm watched a couple other people doing it, and I'm like,
catching swarms.
Another addiction, yeah.
Oh my god, it's so easy. What do you want to do? How many colonies do you have?
All right, now I think it's 12.
Okay.
I started out with 4 last year that went through winter. 100% went through.
All right, so you got a good little number in case something doesn't. In case half of them die, you're still good.
I wanted enough that I can do experimentation and still consider it legit, because they say you have to have at least 5 to test something.
Like, for example, what?
Well, like right now I'm doing Apis biologics on 4 hives, and I'm doing 8, the rest of them basically with a non-Apis, but I'm also testing out like insulating heavily on the other 4, and the other ones I'm just no insulation, just closed vents, and kind of seeing like, is there a difference in the numbers when I go through winter? Is it any better? What's the verdict?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I don't know if, so you have 12, you have 5 feeding some stuff, 5 not. With bees, it's so hard to do research like that, in my opinion, because there's so many variables. One of them that you're not feeding a certain thing, you might just have a queen failure in it. It's not going to be the fault of that thing, or it could be anything, So yep. It's not like, little albino mice in a lab that are all genetically identical in the exact same conditions, fed the same thing, same weight, same temperature, where you can do stuff like that. But so, I mean, you never know. You might get some good data out of it, but it's tough. I don't know.
I almost think too, like you said, there's a lot of variables, and if it doesn't have like a big bold red flag, yeah, this is obvious, then it's kind of like plausible, kind of like Mythbusters used to say, it's plausible but not proved.
Yeah. I mean, you'll get that a lot in the bee circles because you'll have people just swearing up and down that to have upper entrances in the winter is not only unnecessary, but it's like a bad thing. Like you should not do it because Tom Seeley said not to do it. And it's so friggin' annoying because I have bees that almost didn't have a lid. That's how rotten, that's how chewed up their insulation was. That's how big their upper entrance was. You know, there was just gaping holes everywhere. And I'm in a much colder environment than a lot of people. And they still survived 5 frames of bees. So I don't know. It just depends on so many other things. Then
I met a beekeeper that was in Pennsylvania up in the Mount Poconos somewhere, and she says her opinion is there's so many different ways to keep bees, and it's really not how you keep what configuration. It's really other variables that make the difference. I mean, you can keep them all these different ways, and that's not the like deciding overnight factor. She said.
But what do you mean by that? Let's deep dive into that. What do you mean there's a bunch of different ways? Like, give me 3 different ways.
Horizontal hives, a tree hive, and the square box that we all keep.
Yeah, so those are different hives. So there's different things to keep bees in. But what are the different ways of keeping the bees? Like, they're just in different things.
Okay. So you're talking like the methodology where you're like, replace a queen every year or half.
Okay. Know. So yeah, that would be one. I'm just asking. I'm not like trying to put you on the spot. I'm just curious, like what people mean. So yeah, There are beekeepers who requeen like twice a year. Like they requeen every 6 months in the spring
going
and
until
in the
they
summer.
die and use so that's the bee for every possible way she could be used. Even at the end, they squish her and make her into a bee trap.
Yeah, like I had a queen for 4 years. She overwintered 4 times, and that was like, and now I still have a bunch of bees from them. So I'm definitely not on the side of requeening every 6 months. Like, I don't even know, what are they ordering all those queens? Like they're sometimes they're even suggesting that hobbyists do that for some reason, or they'll say in the spring you need to requeen all. Like if you get bees through winter, especially if you don't treat your bees. Why on earth would you want to requeen? Why would you want to start from scratch again? That's something I'll never understand. I'll never understand that advice.
That's a timing thing too. You're losing a couple weeks.
I guess not if you're requeening. I mean,
you mean just have one on the side ready to dump in on?
Yeah, just like you're just pulling that one out and putting the new one right in.
So that's another method, right? Resource hive would be another method, right? Where you take stuff in, take stuff out.
I think, resource hive would be like a tool, I guess. I'm just wondering, like, what all the different ways of beekeeping. Like, there's the commercial way, which is, I really don't even know what that is,
Bulk them up and move them to wherever you need them?
Yeah, move them. Commercial bees, a lot of them really aren't even overwintering, really. They're going from a cold place to a warm place in January or February. Then they go to Florida. So they never really, a lot of them never really sit in a spot all winter the way smaller people like us do. They actually sit there and get beat up all winter. They're kind of just used all year, which is that's what they have to do. That's their goal.
And depending on how they use them, they have to boost them or divide them because they get too crazy.
Yeah. They'll, once they're all done using them up, now they're absolutely overloaded with bees, and they got to sell them to all the people. They got to sell them, these bees that are in trouble, I guess. Yet we have, I think, 3 million colonies in the United States. Seems like a lot to me. But okay, so there's the commercial way. There's kind of like the backyard way, which can be a few different ways. And then there's like the sideliner, kind of middle of the road. But like I was
How about the
talking,
one that basically has a beehive and they don't do anything to it at all? It's kind of like you don't touch it.
yeah, there's
Is
some
that a
people that do
method?
that. That would definitely be a method. Like even though I have my colonies, I do have a couple that will never get touched because they're in a log or they're in a barrel. There's no way of getting in there without tearing it apart. So I kind of mix that in. Um, but I think that the a lot of people say, treatment free beekeeping is, it's just putting it in your backyard and never touching it, like the video I made a couple of weeks ago. It's just not true. There are some people that do that. And there's people that call me up. They'll say, I don't want to actually be a beekeeper. I just want you to put a hive in my backyard. And if I didn't do that, they might just say, screw it, then I'll buy a box and throw some bees in it and not touch it. Are they an actual beekeeper? Not really. Um,
I know in
whether
our area we have to have inspectable hives. I guess the only way to be able to do that is have them trapped in your house or some structure so that they can't get out and just call them native, basically. And so the inspector comes by and say, I didn't really do anything except for maybe introduce them to that crack. And then,
yeah, we have that law too. They have to, your bees, if you're keeping bees, they have to be in a hive with movable frames. But there's people who don't keep bees. They just have a tree in their yard or they have bees in their roof. Are they beekeepers? No, they just have bees there. And the law is pretty clear that if you're keeping the bees and you're actually doing beekeeping with them, they have to be on frames. But it's also clear that bees that are already in something, you're not forced to take them out. That would be a big problem.
so if you were an introducer of bees to natural environments, that's legal, I guess.
No, in this state, if I had a hollow log and I shook a swarm into it, technically I would be breaking the law. Or would they catch me doing it? Could they prove that I did that? No. How would they prove that? I've never done that. That's not my plan. But that's only actually, believe it or not, most states don't have that law. It's not the majority. Like places, if you watch 18 Bees, he's in like some in Oregon, some in Washington. They don't have that rule. You can have bees in skips. You can have them in logs. There's no inspectors. There's nothing. So it's just like you can do whatever you want, which I love.
There's some YouTubers, you see them, they actually drilling out slots in a tree, hollowing it out, make a slot, install the bees, and walk away and never come back.
Yep. Yeah, I've seen that most of the time. That's in other countries. I've seen them do that in like Germany and like, what is that? Like places in Europe, they do that. And that's fine. But yeah, like if I have bees on a log, I didn't put them in there. I didn't put them in the barrel that I have. I just picked it up and moved it over here. So it was just as illegal sitting in that guy's yard than it is sitting here. I mean, they're never going to take me alive. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
Start a big hubbub about, I got 55 here at the house and 2 of them are in the weird stuff. I mean, okay.
That's like almost the days when they used to have gold and you couldn't have it in its raw form. It had to be in jewelry or something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know about that. I don't know the history of gold.
Yeah, when I was out in Colorado, I found that out. That's why it's so valuable when you see virgin, native, right out of the ground, old gold. Because when they took over the United States' gold economy and squashed all the gold mining, they made that rule that if it's not in jewelry, you can't have it. It's got to be used for something.
Interesting.
That's when all the gold certificate dollars and all went away because there was a gold rush and it all went bottom up and people were like, oh, help us, gold price is crashing. So the government took over gold.
Here, let me drop this link again. I mean, since we're hanging out, I'll hang out a little bit longer. See if anybody's up there in the balcony wants to come in. Anybody hiding back there? I don't have anybody blocked. Yeah, don't really know. Um, yeah, the law is like, just don't put them in weird stuff. But I'm gonna always find if I get logs and I can move them here and stand them up, I'm just gonna move them here and stand them up, and I don't touch them. And now this will be, I think this is the third winter they'll be going through. It kind of really puts a damper on that claim that all the feral bees die every winter and get reoccupied by swarms.
You ever attempted to split one of those logs in hive and try and make it surfaceable?
No, not while the bees are in it. I've cut open plenty of. I mean, I've done that when a tree falls and I got to cut it open with a chainsaw. I'll take them out and put them into a box, but
I mean, just try and maintain that log so they can keep going, but make it legal.
I'll like put frames in it.
I don't know. However, they have to make it legal. So how you actually have to be able to take the frame out? Is that what the law says?
Yeah, you have to be able to pull the frames out and inspect both sides of the combs. But also what that'll do, even if you have a hive with bees in it, and let's say you're not using foundation and they build combs going all crooked and the inspector gets there and he can't pull the frames out, that's just as much of a violation. He can't inspect the hive. He or she is not going to sit there and do a cutout with you just to look at the frames. So
theoretically, if you have overly burr-combed hive that you haven't looked in for a while, that's basically illegal too because it's a mess.
No, that's not really their jurisdiction. It's really just to look for American foul brood. That's the only reason that inspectors exist. Pretty much in any state. There's no laws for mites. There's no laws for treating hive beetles or anything. Their only thing is to look for American foul brood. And in my area, it's just non-existent. So it's always just kind of annoying, really.
See if you use it over an ounce for your oxalic acid treatment.
Yeah. I mean, whatever. I've seen that going crazy. I asked a question yesterday in the live stream I was in where I won a hive tool. They were talking about how you have to rotate your treatments, right? And why do people say that? Why do they say you have to rotate your treatments?
We always had it in pest control because they say they're immune to it.
Yeah, they become resistant to it. But if you ask 100 treating beekeepers if mites are going to become resistant to oxalic acid, they're going to tell you no. I've never heard one say, yeah, they're building resistance to it. They always say no. They say it's not like everything else because it burns their face off. It burns their feet off. I'll say, okay, well then why are you guys rotating treatments then? Why are there any other treatments anywhere? Why is there Apivar? Why is there Apo, whatever the fuck the other one is? Why isn't everybody just using oxalic acid? That's it. It's because they're becoming resistant, period. That's all there is. It's going to be just another one. It took a little longer, congratulations, but it's going to be just pointless soon.
Yeah, I was required by New Jersey's license law that you have to take a class. And because of COVID, I started too early and everything was shut down. So last year I took a class and that's exactly what they went over. It's like, we do this because they get used to it. So you got to rotate and here's the list. And these have been banned since it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. The funny thing is when you don't treat your bees, you create an arms race between the pest and the host, right? Everywhere in evolution there's arms races between cheetahs and Thompson's gazelle, between tigers and friggin' whatever they eat, but it's an arms race between everything, between praying mantises and crickets. One gets the edge for a while and then they start to lose their edge, and then the other one gets the edge. It's kind of like with wolves and deer. You just create a back and forth steady arms race rather than what treating does, which just makes it an absolutely lopsided joke where you're making the strongest mites and the weakest bees at the same time. You're just getting involved in something that you could just butt out of, and and let things equalize. But yeah, they didn't answer the question. They actually didn't even acknowledge it. Let's see.
I'm excited to see what this lanternfly does to honey in the industry.
Well, you guys have that down there, right?
I saw a couple, but when I went out in Pennsylvania this last time, there was parking lots coated with these things.
Oh, in Pennsylvania. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's actually ground zero here. It wasn't even, it's probably 10 miles away is where they were found here, where I live, where they started. No,
they almost reminded me of the love bugs when you go to Florida.
Oh, yeah. What do those look like?
They're kind of like a little bigger than mosquito, and they clog up your radiator when you're driving.
Oh, man.
But that's kind of reminds me of that. When I saw them all flying around in the parking lots, I'm like, what? Is this Florida's love bug season?
So I'll just say it again for anybody who's joining. If anyone wants to jump onto the screen and shoot the breeze for a little bit, I'm hanging out here with Frank, right? I don't think I...
Yep.
Okay. I thought I heard someone call you Frank. Let's see. No Riding has some questions saved up when you're ready. Well, you can just come in and talk the questions, but no, you won't derail it. You can go ahead and hit me with them. I don't have the answers to everything, but I can do my best.
That's not what the bee guy says.
Yeah, the bee guy. Yeah, the bee guy tucked tail and ran. He got scared. I really, with a little bit of research, I can find out who the bee guy is. It probably won't take long. I just have to do a few things. I can find out who he is. It's hard to really be totally anonymous on YouTube or on Google with a Google account. So I'll find out. Then that'll be a funny day, especially if it turns out to be one of the people that one of those people. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see what kind of questions Noah has.
Well, Noah reminded me of one of the questions I always want to know is when Noah and the Ark happened, if you believe in that stuff, which I do, but that's besides the point, were bees on the ship?
Yeah.
Could bees live 40 days without land is what my question would be. Is it possible?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Theory. Or would they have to have been taken on a ship in the middle of some boat for 40 days to survive being flooded out?
You should ask that. You should go live on your channel and ask that. See what people say. I don't know. Noah asks about pine tree species. Do they do the similar level of pollen and nectar as normal deciduous trees and plants? And does this mean colonies will do well in pine areas? That's kind of a tough one because I'm in a pine area and I have monstrous pine trees on my neighbor's yard. And they produce, if you walk past them and you bump one of the branches, just a whole cloud of pollen comes off. Like a really huge cloud of pollen. So I think that, but the thing is, I've never seen bees collecting pine pollen. It's there. There's a ton of it, but I've never seen bees collect it. And I don't think coniferous trees produce nectar. Maybe there's a couple that do, but in my observation over, just over the years that I've been here, and I really don't think pines, that species of tree, produce nectar. I don't think they do, but maybe Google it, see. The pollen, I wish it was attracted to bees because, man, they could really load up on it. But I've never seen them on it, so I don't know. And my bees do great. They do great here. I think they do collect a lot of propolis from pine trees, and my bees are definitely heavy propolizers. So I think pines are good. I think they're definitely good for bees in some ways, but that's a good one. I don't have
Bruce, my experience is when I started cutting up pine to make the hive boxes, they started bothering me.
Oh, okay. So yeah, they're going to probably investigate that smell. And there's probably some sugar content in the wood. When you're cutting it in the sap, there's probably some type of sugar content, and I know that they do like to collect the sawdust, in times of where there's not much pollen. They will collect a bunch of sawdust, especially the really fine powdery stuff. And pine seems to be attractive for that, but I don't know. I don't know if they actually use it. I've seen bees taking pine sawdust around here, and then I've also seen it all drug out to the front of the hive in the spring. So they might not actually use it. They might just kind of be collecting it, just like they do coffee grounds. I have a lot of bees always collecting coffee grounds from my compost pile, and I don't see much of that in the spring. So they might actually use that. Um, how good is it for them? I don't know. But in my opinion, whatever the bees go get, they can have it. I don't care what it is.
Yeah, I'll be putting a new pine box together, and bees 100 feet away. They'll be coming trying to get in a box, and I'm still nailing it together. And they're like, "Wait a couple more minutes, please."
See, that's a tough one. He'd have to have kept them in a dark room. Oh, he's talking about on Noah's Ark. If he keeps the bees in a dark room. Yeah, I don't know about that story, man. I just don't know about that story. There's just a million things you could go
All right.
into.
Well, what would the weather have been, and would they have swarmed out in the middle of this doggone boat?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, well, here's the problem. Honeybees exist in, I don't know, I think it's 35 different subspecies. And then if you go to India or any of the Middle Eastern kind of areas, they have honeybees that are really tiny. They're like really, really tiny, and they only live on one comb. They only make their colony on one comb. Then you have the giant honeybee, Apis dorsata, that lives in a few areas, but every single one of the bees of Apis dorsata is like twice the size of a queen, and they also only live on one comb. They make a giant comb like 6-7 feet long and wide. So on the ark, you would not have just taken one swarm of bees. You would have had to taken at minimum 35 different species of bees and
Each
enough.
one being taken care of differently.
Yeah, they would have to be separated, taken care of differently, and think of if you took one of each one. Now when the flood waters go down, now you only have one colony of each species. Now you got to return it to all the different 35 different locations on the planet, and the genetic diversity is shot because you only have one Apis cerana, one Apis dorsata, one Apis indica or whatever. All the different species. So you would have to take probably at least 10 colonies of each species. It starts to get really crazy after just a short time of thinking about it. And that's not to mention the spiders, because there's 300,000 different species of spiders. So you need at least a dozen of each of those, or you're going to have no genetic diversity. They're just going to be inbred from the beginning, which is kind of what everybody on Noah's Ark was anyway. So you get into a lot of inbreeding problems for the whole ark. It just gets derailed pretty quickly. So I'm not clowning anybody who believes in that stuff. I'm just telling you it's not likely. So Noah Riding stumbled on a YouTube video where someone shows honeybees drinking the juice out of a cut open plum. This shocked me. It made me wonder if there's ways of using fruit to keep them alive in dirt. Well, yeah, I mean, bees definitely, even here in the fall, when all the apples fall off the trees, we have a ton of apple trees, just wild apples everywhere, and some in my neighbor's yard. And when those apples fall and get all rotten, the bees are in them. They're in there poking around. They're chewing up the apples. They're my sometimes they're in my tomato garden. Rotten tomatoes fall. They're drinking tomato juice. I throw rotten bananas in the compost heap. They're trying to eat those. They eat the watermelon rinds. So yeah, anywhere they can find some sugar, they're gonna go for it, no matter where it is. Even if you mix it with Apis biologics, they're gonna eat it.
So now we got to start feeding our bees V8.
Yeah, they'll probably eat it. There's sugar in it. They can taste sugar like in anything. You can mix it with anything. They're gonna eat it. But let's see the second part of what Noah says. He wonders if there's ways of using fruit to keep them alive during the dearth. I mean, it would be much easier to just feed them if you wanted to. But for me, the dearth is not something to really fear and to worry about. That's something that you're gonna learn when people get started in beekeeping. I'm not sure how long you've been keeping bees, but they're really ingrained in their mind that you have to feed during the dearth. Like, you have to feed during the dearth, you have to feed before winter, and you have to feed during winter. You really don't. If I didn't feed during the dearth, we have a terrible dearth here. It's like 2 months long. There's almost nothing. But if your colonies are strong and you have a reasonable entrance on them, you don't have to worry about that. As if you leave the honey on, like, don't take all the honey. Inevitably, one or two of them is something might happen. They might start getting robbed, but that's not a reason to like try to do something to stop it. They're gonna get robbed for a reason. That's what I found. I give up. I never stop robbing now. When I see robbing happening, I never stop it. I let them finish that colony off, let them clean it out. It really focuses them all on one hive. They don't hit the one next to it. They don't hit the one to the left or right. If you try to fight it and you move it or you cover it and you block it, now they're going to move to the next one. So now you just caused a bigger problem than you had in the first place. That's my feeling. Ever since I've been just letting robbing happen, I have much fewer problems.
So you feed your bees beehives in a dearth.
Right. My bees during the dearth is a struggle. So why shouldn't the bees everything else struggles in life, So if I have, like, here I had up to 60, I think, at one time, maybe 70 here. They have, a feast from April all the way up till July, and then right in the middle of July it just stops. There's just nothing for a good little bit. This year I got lucky because they planted soybeans next door, and they bloomed like exactly on time when the dearth was, and I didn't have any issues. But last year they didn't do that, and I didn't feed them during the dearth. I had a couple robbing situations, and I let them ride. And what are they getting? They're getting pure, perfect honey. They're all focused on that one hive. They're tearing it apart. They all know when it runs out. Once it runs out, they leave it alone, and then they're done.
Sounds like your strategy is the numbers thing, and I always wondered, do you increase your numbers by swarms mostly, or do you also try and increase numbers other ways to try and have the numbers to give them something to eat off of each other? And
no, that is. Well, I increase my numbers by splitting and also by doing a lot of swarm catching and removals. So that's how my numbers, I get them up there so that I always have that big giant margin of comfort, when some robbing happens or when some hive just fizzles out for no reason. It's just not a big deal when you have a good number. And then I have to sell a bunch of bees just to try to stay under 100. Really, I don't want to have 100 colonies again. I would have been totally stoked with having 40 going into winter, but I went in with 80, I think, and with the robbing and a couple queen failures, I'm down to like 70. So I don't care.
What's your basically percentage you need if you want to have a certain number next year? Do you have to double 50% or 75% more? Or
I don't really need anything. I don't have
if you have a goal of a certain number coming out and surviving each year.
Yeah, I never have a goal. Like, I can kind of estimate what I'm gonna have, but I usually overestimate how many are gonna die. Like, I'd be totally happy with 50% dying because I'd like to have the top 50%. But if 75% die, I'm still going to be fine. I'm going to split the best survivors. I might have to be a little more vigilant, with trying not to have swarms hanging in the trees. I'll keep a few more swarms, but most of the time I'm trying to get rid of bees. I'm never like gonna buy bees. I'm never trying to like get my numbers up. They just kind of go up. But the idea of keeping twice as many as you want, it's a good idea. Once you start getting into the hundreds and stuff like that, now you're talking commercial beekeeper stuff. So I can't really talk about that. It's not my goal. I don't give I wouldn't be able to advise somebody in the bee business, because I kind of just dance around it, really. I sell some bees, sell some honey, but I'm by no means a big deal beekeeper.
Now, have you ever seen bad years in beekeeping?
With my style of beekeeping, there's really no such thing as a bad year because I want selection. I mean, when I first moved here, I think I had 20, and I think 80% of those died. So I had, like, if you do the numbers, I only had 4 left. Somebody might think that's bad, like that's a really bad year, but it's not. It's not bad. That's part of what happens when you let your junk die. And those 4 were great. One of those was my queen that lived 4 years. So I ended up requeening a lot of swarms, making a lot of splits off of her, using her eggs to seed queenless colonies. So I had like just killer genetics for the next season when none of them died. So it worked out really well.
But that was probably your biggest die out that one year was 80 down to 4.
Yeah. No, not 80 down to 4. 20 down to 4.
24.
20 down to 4, yeah. That was 2017. And to me that wasn't even bad because I was like, I think they all died. And when 4 were still alive, I was like, oh, cool. All right. If even one would have survived, that's all I really need because then the other ones don't have any excuse for not living. I've never had them all die.
So basically, if you're a person I just want 2 hives. If you aim for 10, that would be the worst case scenario. You should be able to maintain 10 and lose down to 2 would probably be the worst case scenario, probably.
No, actually, no. To me, if you only want to keep 2 colonies, which would just be great. I couldn't do it because I just really like to mess with bees too much. I couldn't deal with just 2 colonies. It's too few. But that would be extremely liberating, as Tim said, because even if they both died, who cares? You can just once you get the swarm catching down, it's impossible to catch just 2 swarms. Like once you really get into swarm catching and swarm chasing, you're constantly trying to get rid of bees because you're just going to have too many. 2 is just like, it's like you're walking through the park and you lose $2. Are you going to be mad about it? No. You're going to have $2 at home. It's just such a small amount. If I only had 2 or 5 or even 10, I would have no goals. I would just have fun beekeeping, never treat my bees, and just let the dice roll because it's so easy to catch 10 swarms. Anybody could do it just by accident if they just put the tiniest bit of effort into it. Yeah, I wouldn't give a crap.
Yeah, because there's some places around here the minimum we're allowed to have on a lot is 3, or max, I guess. Max is 3, and I always thought, is it even possible to do this without having to buy bees when things go south?
Oh yeah. So when you were asking, have I ever had a bad season? So to me, I would think a bad season would be buying bees. Right? You paid money for your bees. You paid all this money for every type of trinket and every type of supplement and just weird garbage. You bought yourself a $500 vaporizer. You wasted all your time being so meticulous and tedious with treatments, and then those 2 died. That would be a bad year to me. So when you catch bees and you get to just have fun with them, You still get a ton of honey. You know, you really don't lose. It's almost impossible to lose. I just don't understand losing having a bad year in beekeeping. I just don't. It doesn't make sense to me. And I don't know if that makes sense, but I just love doing it so much. I just
it
love
totally does, because when I first got started, I had one hive. And that's all I wanted, and I'm starting to realize that the numbers, it's a little more comfortable when you have something around that you're not have to constantly worry about going out buying every other day. Because the first year I had lost my queen within a couple of weeks, and I'm like out trying to buy a new queen. It's like this is a nightmare, because every day it's like a new traumatic experience.
Yeah, with just one colony, yeah, having just one is kind of tough. So that's why it's good to, have some friends around, some beekeeping buddies nearby. And I mean, with the internet, you could order a queen. You can have one in 2 days. It's not really that bad. It is a waste of money. It's a total waste of money, unless you're getting it from me. But I probably wouldn't charge you anyway. You just have to pay for shipping. But yeah, that might be stressful. But once you get that swarm catching down, everything else is it's butter, really, because you're not buying bees. You're just not trying to just pinch your pennies like manhole covers. You're just like, the people are pushing bees on you. Like you can't stop it. Um, let's see what Noah says here. Your recent video in the shed with the foam box with old comb. Do you try to usually salvage old comb? Let me see. Was that a recent video? I think I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, that one was a little bit older, but I think I made a short out of it, so it might have popped up as a new video. How often do you try to save old comb? If I get some wax moth in it, where's the line? Okay, so that's a good question. I used to be like most people, where they would say comb is like worth its weight in gold. It's just so important. You got to just like cherish your drawn comb, and that is true for maybe a commercial honey producer. And I used to be that way. I would save every comb, but recently, with doing foundationless, by recently I mean over the past couple of years, the bees just draw so well during our spring flow. I can give a swarm 10 undrawn frames, and they'll have it totally top to bottom, left to right in like 2 weeks, easy. So I do keep like the most perfect combs that I have that aren't too old. I have like 3 dead outs out there that I have to eventually go pull them and, just scrape all the propolis off the frames, kind of go through the frames, see which ones are nice. But I have no problem just junking combs. If they're not absolutely perfect brood combs, I just cut them out and melt them down. If they have wax moth damage, I don't think there's going to be wax moth damage on those. But if it's a little bit, I don't even worry about it, because they're going to be stored outside. They're going to be frozen solid for months. It won't really, the wax moths won't be able to do anything. And if I use them in a swarm trap or give them to bees, they'll clean them up pretty good. But once they get pretty bad, just chuck them. I mean, just cut the comb out, keep the frame, and just let them make new comb. I don't like using old black combs. Let me see, make sure I got the whole question here. Foam box with old comb. Are you talking about the one where? Oh yeah, the one where I took those bees out of that building that fell down, and I gave them really crappy combs because that's all that I had. That's all I could find. Yeah, and look at what they did. They removed all the wax moth fibers, and the whole comb just fell apart because the fibers from the wax moths were holding it together. That ended up being a real mess, but I cleaned that all up. So yeah, a little bit of wax moth and webbing. It's not a big deal. Just pull it out, let it air out, and use it. I even use the ones that the mice chew up. I don't care. I just keep them in the brood nest. But anything like with plastic foundation, any of my plastic frames, once those get old, I take the whole plastic part out and just I put them in a box and I let the wax moths eat them up. And then when they're all done, it's just a perfectly clean piece of plastic. I don't clean them. Let's see, Nora. I was curious what you thought on the difference between grandpa's bees back in the day and now. Seems like back in the day it was easier to keep them alive. Well, for me, I don't know of any beekeepers in my past. What about you? Do you have any beekeeping ancestry?
I remember when I was a kid, we went to visit somebody that had a pool, and over there was the bees, and nobody really went over there. That's what I remembered.
Yeah, I hear the stories. Most of the stories that I hear about the olden days of beekeeping are by people who had just started beekeeping, or they have like a year or two under their belt. You'll see it on Facebook a lot. Yeah, the back in the good old days, you could do this and that, and the bees lived. But when you actually talk to actual real old people that kept bees a long time ago, um, it's quite a different story. Plenty of bees died back then, and there were no mites then. Let me see. So, grandpa's bees, was it easier to keep them alive? It probably was a little easier, but the stories where just no bees died, like there was 95% survival every year, just think about that. Just think about that. I would have nowhere to keep bees if I had 95% survive every year. I personally couldn't sell that many bees, and then with how many swarms and removals I do, I would just be buried, and I would be forced to be a commercial beekeeper if I wanted to keep them all, or I'd have to just like kill them or something because there's no way I could keep that many. So I think it's kind of a big myth. If somebody out there wants to come on here and tell me different, who watches this later, they can come on here, and I'll present them with some proof that it just isn't. Don't believe the hype, basically, about beekeeping in the 50s and 40s. Bees still died.
So, Bruce, is it possible to actually keep bees and only check them 3 times a year?
Is it
and nothing else?
There's people that do that. There's
people
successfully. Yeah, I mean, for me, I guess a lot of people do that with layings hives. They'll install some bees where they catch a swarm. They might check them once in the spring, they'll go into harvest, and then they'll check them again in the fall. They definitely do that. I check mine a little more than that. Some of my colonies I end up skipping them so many times that they might only get that many inspections. But then if a queenless issue happens, how are you going to know? After 4 weeks, you're going to have laying workers, and it's just going to dwindle and die. So I check mine a little more than that. But some people do it. I wouldn't doubt that they do it. But about neonicotinoids, as my past guest on my live stream, Michael Cox, was saying, I think that's kind of overblown. I live right next to a farm, and I know they're using neonics, and I don't have any kind of poisoning like that. Let's see. We'll take one more question, then I'm going to get out of here. Somebody practicing their trumpet back there?
Oh, that's mine. I got 2 of them.
Let me see. 2 trumpets?
2 of them, yes.
Your friend mentions a limit of 3 hives per lot. That's very maddening. That's too low. Yeah, I mean, that does seem really unfair. I could never live there. I couldn't be forced to keep just 3 colonies. That would drive me nuts. But sometimes it's just how the law is. All right. Well, Frank, thanks for coming on. You were the only one, except for Jason, came on for a little bit. Thanks, Noah, for coming in with all the good questions, and anybody else watching.
I appreciate your interviews. They've been great lately.
Cool. All right, I'm glad you like them. Thank you. All right, so have a good night, Frank. I'm going to close you out of here. And everybody else, thanks for watching again. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.